How was your
weekend? Was
busy?
mellow. I went to dinner with a crypto friend and her husband last night, so that was nice.
Oh, cool. Good.
Yeah. One of the Stella, Bancor person from Decentral.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. She and her husband were in town last night, so I think she's testing out whether her husband gets along with her crypto friends. I was the guinea pig, so.
Well, that's an easy one.
Yeah, he's
cool.
actually really friggin' hilarious, and we had some really interesting conversations. So, lots of news, Joe.
Yes, I saw.
First thing I'm going to talk about real quickly is there's a bill in the House that everyone's getting all hot and bothered about, and I get it. It's a really comprehensive bill, and I've been through a couple of analyses on it. But first, let me say this to everybody. I just tweeted this a little bit ago too. Everybody's kind of getting excited about this because it's a really comprehensive piece of legislation, and its goal is to kind of fit crypto into the fucking SEC, CFTC mess and make it work with the existing regulatory system. And I'm sure based on it's like 160 something pages. It's been called the largest, change to the financial system in the United States and the history of the United States. It's comprehensive. It has a huge number of holes and problems. And starting off with kind of the definitions section, if I have some more time at the end, I'll hit some of the things in that. But here's the problem. It's all great. I'm glad I'm glad reps and, senators are talking about it. I'm glad the discussion's happening. I'm glad there's an effort to write up this legislation. It could pass in the House. It needs a ton of work. It could pass in the House, but it is sponsored by 2 Republicans. There are no Democrats.
Which 2?
McHenry and their names are on it. Hold on. Let me see if I've got it here. What is it called? It's McHenry and Glenn Thompson. McHenry and Thompson. So McHenry's chair of the House Financial Services Committee and Thompson's chair of the House Agriculture Committee. Also interesting, the 2 chairs would join up. So Justin Slaughter did an awesome, I don't know how many hundreds of tweets are in this thread, analyzing every section of it. It's fantastic. The problem is right out of the gate, at the beginning of the legislation, it gives the SEC a shit ton of power and essentially gives the SEC the ability to decide what the fuck they're going to implement, not implement, and what is security and not a secure. I mean, it doesn't take away anything. Now, there are more definitions and more clarifications later in the legislation. I haven't been through the entire thing yet of Justin's tweet thread analyzing it, but Justin is the what is he? He is counsel at Paradigm, policy director at Paradigm. Anyway, it's great. I'm glad to see it. You should call your congressperson. You should call your rep. You should call your senators and say you want them to work on this bill. You want them to make changes to it, to make it better for crypto, et cetera. You should do all that. But I think it's DOA in the Senate. I don't see how a bill sponsored by 2 Republicans, no Democrats on it so far that I am aware of, makes it into the Senate. I don't, not with the attitude of fucking Warren and her power and control. I just don't see it. So
it hasn't even been voted on the House side though, right?
No. I mean,
it's not even out of committee. Yeah. So people have to come on board on the other side and make it bipartisan to get it through. Clearly. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And just throwing out a piece of paper means nothing on the Hill other than, hey, let's start trying to fire up the sausage making factory.
Exactly. And look, again, I think all of the discussions around it are going to be fantastic. I saw this morning that, all of the Blockchain Association, all of the policy directors, all the attorneys that work with the SEC, they're all getting engaged on this. Great to see.
Good.
But the first thing they need to fucking do is get some Democrats on this bill, because otherwise it won't even have a shot of getting into the Senate. So Niblet says, don't underestimate the R's ability to ram through anything they want. Yes, in the House.
Through what?
In the House, I think they will, because they have control. But in the Senate, not so much. So
well, they don't have enough. No, but they don't have enough Republicans to support this bill right now, as is. There's so many Republicans that are totally anti-crypto.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so it would have to be something along the lines of the debt ceiling resolution, where it's a bipartisan thing, where the Republicans that won't vote for the crypto, you pick up all the Democrats that will.
Yep.
And form a coalition, like you said earlier, that's across both parties. It's the people that really want to figure this problem out.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a good start, though. You're right. It's a great start. Let's do something now.
Yeah.
Congress.
So the other really big fucking news. Hold on, let me get a screen share going here.
Is this the Binance stuff?
Yeah, this is big news. Where's my drops tab? Well, we'll go to crypto. We'll go to let's check out what's going on. Cryptocurrencies. And let's take a look at, I'm going to load up a chart so everybody can kind of see what's going on here. Hold on a second. Getting it up. Window. That's BNB in the last from $300 to $276 in like what is that, an hour?
Yeah, but I mean, it is a drop, but it's like in the crypto world, it's sort of like, yawn.
Yeah.
It's like, because you're like, you see that chart, you think it's going to be like 300 down to 30 or something like that. So, but what's the essence of the action, the legal action?
So this is really actually interesting. Let me share my PDF here. And I only got through page 59 by the time we had to go on the air. I've only had it for about 20 minutes, but I've done.
I see why you're so busy.
Yeah. Markups. Present screen window. So 13 counts suing Binance, BAM Trading Services, which is Binance US, BAM Management, which is Binance US, and CZ. Sean's on the other. If Sean's watching today, he's just salivating. Just
this is Sean porn, basically.
Yeah. Shizzy said, I don't understand how this is news. Gary the Gun has said many times everything is a security except Bitcoin, and they are investigating Binance. So yes, it is. I understand that you think it's kind of old news, but it's actually not. This is the formal, this is it. This is the big fucking drop, and they're probably going to go for, every penny they can. Here's what they're doing, though. There's two things they established here. And so far, I haven't seen any other crypto mentioned here, because obviously the SEC doesn't want to get pinned down on what's a security and what's not. They refuse to. But the one they classify in the document is BNB. And they point to the ICO. And so they can label that as an unregistered security. And they are. And so it's kind of like the first formal one besides Bitcoin that they have, they've labeled others in lawsuits, but
Ethereum.
Yeah. But they have officially labeled BNB as the security that they're going to represent as them trading securities, while saying they traded tons of other securities, right? Without specifically mentioning them. The really kind of crazy thing is here that they are going for not only the unregistered securities, but violations of the laws for broker-dealer, clearinghouse, and any other license you have to in the United States, right? Which has a lot of risk for this space because, well, we all know why Gary, clearing dealers, because those are all his buddies, and that's where he's going to make money again when he leaves the SEC. And so they want to set up this regime that basically puts crypto under the same regime as equities, and require all these middlemen that all make billions of dollars off of our money, because it's regulatory enforced middlemen, right? And so That's what they're going for hard, though. So they're going, yeah, exchange, broker dealer, and clearing agency violations. And they are saying, now this is interesting because they also mentioned BUSD, and calling it a security later on. And the interesting thing about that is that the CFTC, when they sued Binance in March, labeled, let me see which ones they labeled. I had it here. They labeled as commodities, they labeled Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and BUSD as commodities. CFTC.
Does CFTC regard Tether and Circle as commodities?
They don't list them in the lawsuit against Binance.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I don't know what the CFTC has specifically labeled as commodities. Here it is. It was BTC, ETH, LTC. Oh, sorry, they do. USDT and BUSD were labeled as commodities under the lawsuit by the CFTC in March against CZ and Binance. So this gets, but the reason this gets pretty sticky for Binance is they have a ton of memos and emails internal to the organization. They have some either emails and or testimony from the former CEO of Binance US. They have a ton of emails talking about how CZ had complete control over Binance US, that it was always, she called it a puppet, and that all of the employees and the team were deceived in taking the jobs to believe that they were going to be in charge of running Binance US, and they were not running Binance US ever. And it seems like the SEC has a shit ton of internal communications and documentation backing that up. So they are also claiming that they misrepresented all of the transparency and controls in the Binance US platform. They are not inferring that in Binance.com platform, but they are saying there were no audit controls, safety controls, nothing on the Binance US exchange that were available on the Binance.com exchange. The other thing they're alleging is that there was, and they have emails, internal emails and documents, was that they made a concerted effort to maintain all of their VIP US traders on Binance.com after they blocked everybody out. I think the number was 159 of those. They said they have letters from the chief compliance officer admitting we do not want Binance.com to be regulated in the US. It talks about how involved CZ and all of the team at Binance.com were in basically running Binance US. And again, they give lots of quotes and documentation to support it. They say, oh, this is on the surface, we cannot be seen to have US users, but in reality, we should get them through other creative means. This was CZ in an email to somebody else saying they don't want to be held accountable for the actions. The defendants were free to and did transfer investors' crypto and fiat assets as defendants pleased, at times commingling and diverting them in ways that properly registered brokers, dealers, exchanges, and clearinghouses would not have been able to do. Billions of US dollars in customer funds, US dollars of customer funds from both Binance platforms were commingled in an account held by CZ, controlled entity called Merit Park Limited, which funds were subsequently transferred to a third party apparently in connection with the purchase and sale of crypto assets. They talk about CZ's quote of credibility is the most important asset for any exchange. If an exchange fakes their volumes, would you trust them with your funds? And they are alleging here that, in fact, a good chunk of the Binance US trading volume for a while, at least, was all trades by his entities on the exchange using customer funds to make it look like there was more volume than there was. They didn't register. They didn't have exchanges. They were doing self-dealing. They were doing wash trading. From September 2019 to June 22nd, Sigma Chain, another CZ firm, engaged in wash trading that artificially inflated the trading volume of crypto asset securities on the Binance US platform. Unregistered offer and sale of securities.
Okay, so it's a lot. But is this against Binance US or Binance wherever it is.
No, the
Malta?
lawsuit is against both BAM trading operations that owned that were invested
Binance
in
US?
Binance
Yep.
US, Binance.com, and CZ are the 4 defendants.
Okay, got it.
Materially false fraud. They're alleging fraud. They're alleging false statements. They're asking for a permanent enjoinment against all activity and being able to function and run. And they're tying U.S. employees, residents of the District of Columbia invested in schemes in Binance offered and sold to security. So that's how they're justifying the U.S. suing them. But let me get to this. They're alleging that he took $62.5 million from the Binance bank accounts, and they're alleging that those funds were tied together. They do a nice org chart of of the structure between BAM and, but they're pushing hard on the registration of the clearing agencies, as we've talked about before. I
wonder what the statute of limitations is on this type of stuff.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that last night when I was thinking about all the ICOs from like 2017, and I was going, that's getting up close to 7 years, and I think that's usually where statute of limitations kicks in. Sometimes less.
I don't know.
I wonder if all the U.S. ICO people are now skating free, here in the next 12 months if you just lay low. Yeah, of course, everybody who showed up for help got sued and had to cough up $15 or $30 million. But everybody who laid low doesn't get popped. So
this is where they reference the ICO for BNB, raising 15 million, selling 100 million BNB tokens at 15 cents per token. And then
God damn. I wish I'd been in on that one.
Oh my God, me too, man. And this is where they established the security that they're going to reference in the lawsuit. BNB was offered and sold as security because Binance touted an investment in BNB as an investment in Binance efforts to create a successful crypto asset trading platform.
Yeah, see, that's such a stretch because an investment in contributing to building out a successful platform. Right. That doesn't really say you own it.
Yeah,
it just says that you're going to support it
from it. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's going to be a tough one. I mean, I think that's always been a weak argument in general across the whole space.
Chief compliance officer admitting to another BNB compliance officer, we are operating as a fucking unlicensed securities exchange in the U.S., bro. So.
Well, so you take a guy like that who's probably already cooperating witness, right? Is that guy cooperating? Yeah.
They don't say.
Okay, so those are the guys that should get fried. The Americans, in my opinion, is, I'm not the business, the bank, the exchange is just doing business. And they're trying to navigate a regulatory system that has no rules.
Yep.
Other than whatever one person says everything is, who doesn't really have the authority to say that.
Yeah.
And so the guy who's talking about we're operating an unlicensed exchange, bro, that's the dude that should be in trouble.
Yep.
Because he's friggin' stupid. Yeah. If you're sitting there doing that, well, first of all, you shouldn't write that in an email. It's number one thing. But the second thing is that then you're complicit.
Yeah. Chuck says, well, that's it for sex businesses in the U.S. until NASDAQ, et cetera, open their own markets. Is anyone surprised to see feds laying groundwork for their Wall Street bros to step in after this murder? Yeah, look, I think Coinbase will still be able to operate, but yeah, it's not good. It's not good. This is where they have the evidence about trying to get the VIP customers around the new blocks that they put in place in 2019. CZ explained in a meeting with other Binance senior officials, we do need to let users know that they can change their KYC on Binance.com and continue to use it. But the message needs to be finessed very carefully because whatever we send will be public. We cannot be held accountable for it. The following day, he met with Binance officials to discuss their VIP US customers, and Zhao provided further instructions on crafting the message to his customers about changing IP addresses or KYC documentation. During the meeting, Binance CCO noted that Binance would engage in the international circumvention of KYC, and Zhao affirmed that his goal was to reduce the losses to ourselves in time to make the U.S. regulatory authorities not trouble us. VIP handling document included draft emails to send to VIP customers who are identified as US KYC, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I hope I marked it, but somewhere in here it noted that I think 159 US VIP customers represented something like 70% of all exchange volume.
Yeah. So who were those customers? Weren't they all institutions?
No.
Running through Estonia e-bank accounts?
Yeah,
no.
I don't know, but yeah. 159 US VIP customers, representing almost 70% of all global VIP trading volume, which is probably 65% of all volume. Oh, here it is, 63% of all the Binance.com platforms VIP customer trading volume. 40,000, for example, US customer trading on Binance.com, for example, between January 19 and September 2021, 7,000 US investor traded BNB on the Binance.com platform.
Yeah.
CZ provided the initial $500,000 in funding, and so far has invested 16 million in Binance US. And this is where they get into the details about how what was her name, that CEO?
I know we talked to her once or twice. Or no,
I had a couple of interactions with her. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, damn. I can't remember, bro.
Hold on. Finance CEO. Cawley.
Yeah.
That was her name. So I have to say that, based on the current enforcement mechanisms and the way the SEC operates and what they've been trying to enforce, they're kind of fucked. Now, can they get to his money and can they shut down the operations? That's a little more debatable. Right?
I don't think they can do Binance.com. I mean, as far as
Binance US. So
yeah, but the Binance.com is going to be a very long process.
Yep.
And he's going to lawyer up with the best U.S. law firms and cut a deal of some type. Because this is all, I mean, I don't see anything in there that I didn't think was going on or that I didn't hear was going on.
No.
I was a little surprised about the weighting, how much was U.S. customers in there, 63%, the VIP stuff. But that tells me that it was probably people running through Estonia e-resident cards or something like that, or European companies. Yeah. And it was trading houses, because I was, it was always so bizarre how it completely mimicked everything that was going on in the U.S. And now we know why, because it was the U.S.
Yep.
Or is.
Here's the really fucking stupid thing by CZ, right? It's like, dude, you had this opportunity to set up this U.S. exchange. You would have been the primary investor in the exchange through your entities. If you had licensed them the technology, help them implement it, and then let them fucking run it, right? This wouldn't be happening right now, right? Now, they may be going after Binance.com, but the Binance US shit is the shit that they're really seem to be going hard after in this lawsuit, right? The commingling of funds. I mean, they probably figure that they can't get anything out of the Binance.com stuff, get to the money, get to him, whatever. But they know they can on the Binance US side of things. And so it's like, if he had just given him, really put up the wall there, then it'd probably be a lot less egregious for them. But because he did that and he controlled, based on this document, obviously he's going to mount a defense, but because he did so much engagement and was basically controlling the entire Binance US platform, you're
screwed. Yeah, exactly. It seems like, you're absolutely right. But also all these companies, I mean, whether we're talking about FTX or Binance, or, you just think that they got to be short on the operations side of the stick, because that's where they always mess up, all of the proper, the boring stuff, the admin, the ops, all of that. I mean, like to your point, if he had just done hands off and went full U.S. regulatory compliance on Binance US, and managed the first money coming into it, so it was coming off of a credible KYC source, then he might not be in all this predicament. But I think that the regulators are pissed to find out that it was all Americans in there.
Yeah.
And, so it's like they're going to go after CZ when, hey, man, if people want it, give the people what they want, basically.
Well, I got to believe that Cawley and that entire original staff have all taken a deal, right?
They have to have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they're fucked otherwise. I mean, they were, it doesn't matter how much control he had, they were operating as the officers of the company, and they knew what the fuck was going on. Now, maybe the reason she resigned is she collected all the evidence and went after her, because she went dead quiet. Like, she hasn't appeared anywhere since 2 years ago when she left. So I'm wondering if she was collecting all the evidence she needed and went straight to the SEC to cover her ass, and who knows. But I will say this, so far I'm at page 68. I would say about 85% of this document is related to Binance US. Like, this is not going after Binance.com as much as it is, we're going to go after CZ and Binance US based on the actions they took at Binance US. So not looking good for the fellas over there.
Yeah. Good.
The interesting thing is, this was interesting. So they must have known it was coming. Let me load this up. Hold on.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about this, you're right, for like years.
Yeah.
So he has to know it was coming.
Well, and I think that they knew it was coming sooner, like this week, right? Because this was in the news today as well. Binance hands Rising Star Ting key role to replace CEO Zhao at largest crypto exchange. So I have a feeling CZ is going to disappear from, public sight. Yes.
He's going to be setting up in some giant villa in Dubai.
Exactly.
I mean, look, you're in this situation. You pick the places that don't have U.S. extradition. I mean, it's not that hard. There's actually some pretty decent countries out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like unknown ones that people don't remember. France is one.
Yeah.
Brazil is another one. And obviously, there's a whole bunch of other ones. But, look, in Switzerland, of course, I don't think this stuff's illegal in Switzerland. I know it's not. So, if you're not breaking Swiss law, then they won't extradite you either.
Yep.
So, that's what I'd be thinking if I was CZ, and go give Denton's or Hogan Lovells or Sidley or one of those guys $1 billion of retainer money and say, go fix this shit.
Yep.
That's what I would do.
Shizzy says, again, this still don't feel like news. I feel like we have been talking about this since FTX went down. Here's why it's news, Shizzy. Because number one, it's very likely that this will shut down Binance US. And there will be an impact on traders. Number two, it's going to impact the market overall. Number three, if the United States can ascertain servers under the control of US companies or companies with which they can exert influence or control, then they can impact the operations of Binance.com in some ways, potentially. And they could potentially go after assets that may be stored in banks in countries that are friendly. So I understand that you don't think it's news, but them taking this action and having two simultaneous lawsuits between the CFTC and the SEC against Binance and CZ can have a significantly dramatic impact on the overall market. This also, as Chuck said, doesn't bode well for centralized exchanges in the United States that are not registering exchanges and that are operating as broker dealers and operating as clearinghouses, blah, blah, blah. All of this combined is not good for the United States. And the fact that this suit is now out and filed and there will be actions taken and court cases ongoing, it's just really bad for the US in terms of crypto. So that's kind of my take on it at this point. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, the other thing I think is important is, I'm thinking more globally that, this chart that Sean keeps putting up, the one on, I think it's, what is it, order book volume or depth or something like that. And you just see how it's so flat. Well, that explains it's those 70 something American super VIP traders doing 63% of the volume there. They beat him out of there, basically. They're gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows if they've been ID'd or whatever, but if it was all institutions, they were clearly given the warning, get the fuck out.
Yep.
And they're gone. So I find that interesting, but where'd they go?
Yeah. Probably set up, they very well may have set up companies in other countries and moved their money back into Binance. Right. I mean, or the other exchanges that you can access overseas. Exactly. That the foreigners can do. And maybe they don't even give a shit. Maybe they're still trading as Americans
Above the law,
evading the KYC, right? Because they're not under any. It's not illegal for them to trade. It's illegal for Binance to
let them.
Yeah. So they have no risk except for Binance getting seized somehow, which I don't see happening. Right.
The only thing that would be one final point on that, real quick. I saw a notice a couple days ago that was kind of interesting, and it worried me. And it was something coming out of Russia that was saying Russia was going to start using the centralized exchanges to settle current account balances, for trade and stuff like that. And I only saw one quote or one blurb on that. I haven't Googled it or whatever, but I haven't seen anything more. When I saw that, I started worrying a little bit, because then that turns it into a national security issue at that point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you're doing business with Binance, you might be able to get swept up in some kind of anti-terrorist stuff. So,
that's interesting to see if they try to get some kind of designation because of the, not in this lawsuit, but separately, that's a really interesting point, Joe, because they have made allegations about terrorism and laundering and everything else on this exchange. If they, whoever does those designations, I can't remember the org that does them, but that very well could be something that's their next step to make Americans pull out that are still in there and entities that are.
Yeah. I mean, and then it might give exposure to anybody who trades on there going forward after that designation. Any Americans might have legal exposure on that. So, I mean, I don't know this, if they're really got a hard on for these guys, and, nothing's going to stop them at this point.
Yeah, and obviously
they'll make an example.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's obvious. Gensler, his minions at the SEC that he brought in, Elizabeth Warren, some members of Congress, some members of the Senate, they got a hard on for killing crypto. And they still think the United States has the power to kill crypto internationally, and they feel like if they start it here, other countries will follow suit. I'm not so sure that that's the atmosphere anymore. And, everything I'm seeing says not necessarily the case. A lot of countries are saying, we don't need to take orders from the US anymore. But it's obvious that they're between choke point 2.0, between these moves by the SEC, everything that's happening, they want to kill it in the US. They want to maintain control of the financial system. They want to maintain control of the banking system, which, has been Elizabeth Warren's hard on since she got into the Senate. And so their goal is to maintain control over people's money. The other interesting thing that I've been hearing discussions about, I was listening to a show called The Bitcoin Show, which happens on Spaces, but it's a podcast. And, all the big names, Len Altman, Balaji, all of these folks were on last week talking about how the financial system outside of this country is ignoring the U.S. and is saying fuck you to the U.S. and U.S. isn't control anymore, blah, blah, blah. But the other interesting thing they got into a discussion about was the easy release, how easy it is for Americans to get their funds out of a bank, and how concerned regulators are about how easy it is to get funds in and out. And so they see crypto enablement with banking also a way to make it easier, and it puts them in a position of the US of US citizens or people that have money in US banks more easily moving their money into other assets, and they don't want to give them the ability to move out of the US dollar into any other assets, and they don't want American citizens to be able to move their money out of the banking system as rapidly as they can now, right? So that is also probably something that, everyone trying to hold on control in the United States and having the US dollar be the king supreme of the world, and seeing some of that starting to edge away, that may be part of it as well. And they see Bitcoin and they see Ethereum and they see other cryptocurrencies as ways to harm the US dollar power. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a solid perspective, because I think when we look at choke point 2.0, we were kind of speculating around when the SVB stuff and Signature and First Republic or whoever all those banks were, was that, I think they were afraid of the debt ceiling thing blowing up, because there were a heavy amount of Republicans just wanted to trash the economy to keep Biden from getting reelected. Right. And I think one of the things they were afraid of was that if you trash the economy, then runs on banks.
Yep.
You know, we all have seen the Depression era pictures where people are lined up around the block at banks, and you know, hey, no money, go home.
Yeah.
If you can all of a sudden instantly move that out into another asset like Bitcoin, you know, which would be the easiest one versus say gold.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is should be a legitimate concern of theirs, but I mean, as in the motivation, not as invalid. I just mean as in what the motivation is.
Yeah.
But in reality, at today's time, it's such a blip on the whole overall, you know, say value curve that it's not a big threat. But, you know, maybe they're terrified of it in the future.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like you said, with the bank stuff, you know, trying to make it stickier is harder to move money out, which is so contrary to everything else.
Yeah.
You know, everything else is built around speeding up the velocity of capital. You know, the Venmos, the PayPals,
Well, look at this
credit
article
cards,
I have
everything.
up on the screen.
Nope, let's check it out.
On Friday, the CFPB warned users not to store cash in Venmo, PayPal, and the Cash App. Now, interesting there because, you know, I use Cash App quite a bit, Venmo some with friends and family. Haven't used PayPal much in a long time. But the interesting thing is that, in fact, they lied in their order because they said that money stored in Cash App is not FDIC insured. It actually is FDIC insured. It's stored in a bank account established for you when you create a Cash App account. But it's just another sign of how freaked out they are about how rapidly money can move in and out, right? So to me, you just brought this up. This is what's happening. Like,
yeah,
have Cash App accounts. Are they ever going to really need a bank account that charges them a ton of fees? You know, a regular bank account at Bank of America or whatever.
$14 a month or something. You know, and you only got like $500 in it. Yeah, it's stupid.
It's fucking stupid. Whereas with Cash App, they can buy stocks, they can buy Bitcoin, they can deposit checks, they can direct deposit checks, they can cash out, they can use ATMs. What the fuck do my kids need or anybody really need a bank for? Right. And
yeah,
you know, Cash App is effectively a virtual bank with a bank behind it. So
it's again, these people are like so like legacy economy people and so TradFi focused. You know, their whole mission is to protect the U.S. economy. It's not to innovate. And so this is clearly over their heads. They're, you know, if now they're going after Venmo and PayPal, or, you know, running a PSYOP to encourage people to move fiat out of Venmo and PayPal, let's put it that way, and to their mind, put it in a bank, but they don't even know it's already in a bank. I mean, doesn't that tell you that they really don't know what they're doing at all? You know, to regulators?
Yep.
I use PayPal. I don't use Venmo or Cash App. Yep. And I only use PayPal for stuff like where, you know, they can give you those spin up disposable MasterCard numbers that you can use.
Yep.
And so I use like a one-off MasterCard number whenever I buy stuff online.
Yeah.
So that way it never can, you know, it's like disposable email.
Right.
You know, those 10-minute mail or whatever that one was called that we would use to like set up an email account, and then that validator email expires. And then, you know, you've got to basically, I don't know, non-KYC email account kind of thing. So, you know, I think all that stuff terrifies all these guys, these older guys.
Right.
Remember, these guys all grew up on typewriters.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so Cash App, what the fuck? They're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How does this keep track? It's magic, you know? Yeah. So, but Chuck has a good point there too, after Niblet's comment.
Yeah, let's quickly get in. Niblet says there are a lot of people who this crypto is pure scam. Fighting crypto earns votes. This way we the way we counter this is to counter the ignorance and clean up our own house too. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not really a way for us to clean up our house. I mean, that's the entire idea behind decentralization and blockchains, right? Is nobody's in control. And frankly, you know, the stock market hasn't cleaned up its acts in its entire history. We still have pump and dump scams. You still have boiler rooms. You still have scams. You still have, you know, the mortgage crisis. You still have the Enron type deals of the world. I mean, where there is money, there is going to be scams. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what industry, what it is, right? We have an entire banking industry that violates international and U.S. laws on a regular basis, and, you know, basically pays a bribe to the U.S. government called fines. So I appreciate your sentiment there, Niblets, but I don't think that there's any way to do that. And the entire kind of point of this is that it's permissionless. And so, people need to take care of themselves. So Chuck says it's not that they are terrified of crypto and fiat flight. They ultimately want to eliminate the shitcoins and leave only a digital dollar as the last one standing. Then they can control all cash. Yeah, I have no problem with that theory. I think that's definitely part of it as well. So, hold on one second, Joe.
Sure, buddy.
Okay, cool. Sorry, my wife is. I'm being.
I was going to tell what Shizzy should do is do up a bunch of ordinals of this lawsuit.
Well, I will tell you,
it to the Bitcoin blockchain.
Everybody that has not, I haven't watched it yet, but I was listening to a show this morning, and I think Shizzy's on a really interesting path, and this is really fucking fascinating to me. And I hadn't taken much of a deep dive into it until I started listening to this show. But Shizzy posted a video in our Telegram group that he created, and everybody should go take a look at it. T.me/mission DeFi, T.me/mission DeFi in the BRC20 ordinals group in our groups, topic in our groups. He created a video about this entire thing, and this is fucking fascinating. Look, Joe, you know art better than I do, right? And you know that art sells for a higher price if there's a cool story behind it, or some creator story, or some origin to it, right? Especially if it's historical or whatever. Well, here's what's happening, and I don't understand the mechanics of this yet. So I'm gonna let Shizzy's video speak for everybody and understand it better. But this really fucking cool thing is happening in the Bitcoin ordinal space. And again, this is NFTs, they're inscriptions. This is not directly the BRC20 tokens, although I think it can be tied to this. They are digging up historical sats. And by that, I mean, for example, the 9th block to be mined by Satoshi was sent to, there were 10 Bitcoins that were sent by Satoshi to Hal Finney, right? And the sats associated with those Bitcoins that were sent have historical value to the Bitcoin community, right? They're like, that's like pretty historic shit, right?
That was the first 10 moved? That was the first 10 moved?
Yeah, that was the first 10 sent to see if it actually worked, right? That was the first time he had tried to send it, right? And then there's all these other blocks, the pizza block, the all kinds of blocks in the history of Bitcoin that have occurred, things that were paid for, probably Silk Road, probably illicit stuff, all kinds of
I wonder if there's like a top block. Do you think there's a top block? There has to be one block at the peak of all these huge rallies, right?
Well, sure. Exactly.
There's got to be a block 69K or something, right?
So
okay, got it.
All these historical contexts and these people, I mean, it's fucking, the amount of development going on around this shit is truly fucking astounding, because there are people that have built all these tools that now allow you to find sats that had some historical relevance in your wallet. And then the other people are doing, one of the guys I listened to today, he has flipped equivalent of $200 million in volume of Bitcoin by sending it to exchanges, and then sending Bitcoin to exchanges that doesn't have a historical sat in it, and then pulling it back out of the exchange. So it's basically recycling through, like Binance. So he sends it into Binance deposit address, and other Bitcoins come out when he withdraws it, right? Because it goes into one big hot wallet. And then he's siphoning through all of these fucking Bitcoins that he gets back, seeing if there's any secure historical sats, registering or creating ordinals and inscriptions around it, and then sending Bitcoin back in and trying to get more out. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. But
that's cool.
I love the idea that people are now creating art around these historical sats. So you have around the story of that sat, right? And maybe it's images of Satoshi and Hal, maybe it's whatever photos from the past. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But I love that takes the NFT model to a whole new level, right?
Can I ask my quick question just on the stats part? So, I mean, I didn't even really think about this till you just brought this up, because I always think of Bitcoin as, and of course we do take fractions, so this is going to blow my argument apart, but I guess these sats are constantly recombining into one kind of, the sats flow from Bitcoin to Bitcoin, basically. So it's not like one Bitcoin number 6 or whatever, let's say, those sats in there always stay in that one coin.
Yes, they are broken up, but they are tied in the records of the blockchain to that block, to that Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you pull down, let's say, okay, fuck Binance, let's pull out. I have one BTC. Hypothetically, you have one BTC there. You pull it down. Obviously, it's different from the one you put in, but it could be a combination of like all these sats from all these other coins because everybody's coming in with small pieces and frags and shards,
right,
or whatever you call it. But so those are always constantly moving. So it sounds like it's almost like a lottery hunt what this guy's doing.
Yeah,
because he brings one down, and it's like
starting to do it now, and that's
video. Cool.
That's essentially, I think, the video that Shizzy posted, and Shizzy, I will watch it, I promise. But he's basically saying it's a video about how to hunt and find sats, right? And so this is a really cool. This takes it to a whole nother level. Niblet says, if a sat is uniquely identifiable, does that mean it is a non-fungible? So BTC is the OG NFT? Yeah, it certainly seems to be a notch better than what we've experienced in the Ethereum world, where the art is almost always stored on IPFS or some other place, central servers, whatever. This is ingrained. It's tied to that sat on the Bitcoin blockchain. The images or the inscription is on the chain. So to me, this takes NFTs to a whole new level, right? And makes it really interesting, the possibilities going forward. So anyway, Shizzy says all sats are now NFTs. So
yeah,
fascinating shit.
Wait, so now BTC equals NFT?
Well,
Sean, sorry, buddy.
But look, and here's the thing, and Sean's position on this is, hey, if you can do it on the chain, fucking do it, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's driving fees, it's driving revenue. But here's a really interesting thing: like, it could get to the point where a sat, if it's a valuable piece of art, like the apes have been, or whatever, in the DeFi, in the NFT world, it could get to the point where, a sat is worth more than, say, 5 Bitcoins, right? I mean, then what happens to the fucking narrative, right? Shit gets really fucking crazy at that point. It's like, and that now specific Bitcoins actually start getting more value because the sats associated with that Bitcoin is higher value. It's a little bit of a mind fuck, but it's really interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just wondering why everything was down, and I looked over and saw BTC kind of just fell off a cliff a little bit. But
yeah, well, and they're trying to attribute that to the CZ shit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. What do we got going on? Bitcoin down to 25,787. Oh yeah, that's a hardy little drop there today. From
lunchtime sales.
So that's about $1,000 drop,
or 20 was it 27.2
drop.
Yeah,
25,769. And I don't have a problem with tying that to the CZ suit. I actually think that's probably pertinent. So
yeah.
Okay,
let's go. All right, yeah, I think I have to go do some selling here, but
I don't know if anybody
really
used wait a minute, where is it? I'm trying to find this article. There is an article about something called Atomic Wallet. I've never used, was hacked for $35 million. People's wallets were completely cleaned out. I'm trying to find the fucking article I had loaded up, but I can't find it. So everybody's shit out. Oh, here it is. Yeah, entire portfolios are getting cleaned out, but I don't know what Atomic Wallet is. When they say portfolios, it makes me wonder. No, it's money and NFTs. So anyway, maybe Atomic Wallet is related to the Atomic Protocol, that cross-chain protocol. That would make sense.
I'm not sure. One thing I wanted to tell, we do talk a lot about occasionally about NFTs and say Doki Doki and groups like that. And this one, I've talked about it a couple of times, that Kazuna NFT mint, and it just wasn't done at the right time. So they pulled the mint, refunded everybody, and put it free mint, which is already gone.
Yeah.
And so I was dialoguing in one of the channels. I'm like, what's that going to do to gotcha? And so evidently the whole gotcha thing is now up in the air. So I know I've talked about that project to people. I want to make sure everybody know that
It might be delayed. It sounds like
Well,
so. Don't go.
I have it on my list, Joe.
Yeah.
You I would just say to all of our listeners, don't ape in right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You and I can talk about it offline. I'm not quite sure what
Well, there's some chats where it's talking about like Ray taking a break and stuff like that. So, but it doesn't say the exact stuff.
The word I got goes further, but why don't you and I talk about it offline, and then I'll get confirmation from him what I can and can't say, and then we'll tomorrow.
I just didn't want anybody to. I want everybody to be aware of that.
I mean, we really can't impact it much. I would say this for now: don't get engaged with the protocol.
Yeah, I'd wait
with tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Now, wait. Who knows if the Kazuna NFT thing really takes off in some crazy way? Then everybody's back in business. But I think everybody's just burnt because they've spent a year and a half on that project.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It didn't sell. It was a big failure. And they're doing free mints of it now. So I would go get
the free mints are all gone. They're all gone, dude.
Oh, they are?
It sold out. It went out in 8 minutes after that.
Okay.
But there is a community being built and some unreveals. So if you have them already, you should have been refunded if you paid the mint. Because they refunded everybody. But, just be careful. Yeah. I know I've talked about it a few times. That's why I wanted to make sure everybody knew it.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was good because I've lost it from last week. I had that discussion and I completely lost it since then. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That's
cool.
Great. You know what? I've got like 40 other stories loaded here, but I think we're good for the day.
Save them for tomorrow.
Yeah. Thursday, Sean Day is going to be Twitter Spaces. And he is going to pontificate about why every experiment in DeFi, DAOs, NFT, smart contracts, etc., are 100% a failure. And I think we might have a little friction Thursday. I'll just say that because I obviously have some problems with that assessment.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly some winners, but most of the, I mean, we call them experiments and stuff like that, but it's kind of like how it's being sold should give you an indication. If it seems like a hustle, well, I think we've all learned it usually is.
Yeah.
But degen traders can still play there and still have fun and still make money.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that that's going to be around.
Right.
But look at like Aave. I mean, I'd call Aave a success.
Yeah.
I'd call Curve a success and all the other stuff around Curve.
Fuck. I listened to a show yesterday. Animoca Brands that's invested in all these gaming projects? Yeah. Evidently, they have been announcing the delay of their audit since 2020. They're
like their Halborn kind of audit or financial audit? What do you mean?
Financial audits related to their fund. And the show I listened to yesterday, some respected people in the space are saying that, they're happy for Animoca to make it clear what's really going on here, but they refuse to talk about it and that it's not looking great for them. So anyway.
Well, everybody's got to be, if you were just playing tokens, okay, and not, I'm including all governance tokens too. And you weren't taking equity positions in some of these plays, if you could, you're gutted right now.
Yep.
There's no fans or about it because, it's all friggin' down.
Yep.
And, you either dumped already because, I'm in one that's still locked and I'm in a couple that are locked for a few more years, just not paying attention. But if you were a VC fund, you wouldn't lock up for that amount of time.
No.
But, you probably dumped those tokens already and you're trying to figure out how to get it back and everything you're trying to do isn't working.
Yep.
So, it's going to be a little tough in the space for those guys because they don't always have to show their balance sheets, let's say. But, they certainly have to do investors.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, we've all had those painful discussions.
Yep. Absolutely.
To the people that put the money up and all of a sudden they're not getting it all back.
Yep.
People usually aren't too happy.
No, Chuck says the value is in the eye of the beholder. Brad, you should convince us that your empty Red Bull cans are going to be historic. How many times I have to tell you I don't drink Red Bull, Chuck? I drink Monster.
You see Chuck's line? in the eye of the beholder.
Hodler. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
We should
I like that.
make an ordinal out of this. We should make an ordinal out of every comment that we've had on the show.
Exactly. We should like buy Sats live and then we'll embed the video. Can we? I don't know how much.
Can we put the whole show in an ordinal?
How much storage? How much storage do we get? No, I think that's way too fucking big. That's like way over the range.
Why is the BTC chain chugging so slow?
Joe and Brad fuck up the blockchain.
Are everywhere, man. We renamed it.
Niblett
Joe
says
and Brad
narratives
chain.
make value. They always have. The guitar Hendrix lit on fire at Woodstock is unplayable, but worth a bit more than the same guitar from the Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Intrinsic and extrinsic value. But now the BTC is revealed to be an NFT. BTC is DeFi. Yeah. You know, as I dive into all the new tech coming out, as well as some tech that's been recently released around Bitcoin, I'm more and more excited about the potential of fucking DeFi to explode on Bitcoin. I got to tell you, it's going to piss off a lot of people, but I'm actually pretty excited. So, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
I got to take a kid to the allergist and get on a call at the same time in 3 minutes. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah, cool. One final thing is I share your opinion. I think that, even though we've been talking about this for, almost 2 years now, it seems like, well, it's not that long, but 16, 18 months on the show, it is driving me closer to Bitcoin now, because I'm starting to realize now all of this freakadeek stuff that we do over here can be done on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
So let's slut it up and go do it on Bitcoin, man, and just see what happens.
Well, first in usually does the best at the end of the day.
Yeah, in and out, baby, in and out, right?
In,
all right.
In and out. Listen, Niblets, Chuck, Shizzy, appreciate and love that you guys are here. Thank you for participating and providing comments. Shizzy, thanks for providing commentary, and Chuck and everybody else, and Niblets and Sean in the community. T.me/mission DeFi. T.me/mission DeFi. It's a small community. It's growing, but we have so many smart fucking people in there. You guys are missing out if you're not in our community, and we're missing out on the community feedback you can give us, right? We're missing out on your insights on the projects you love. We have all kinds of topics and categories: Bitcoin, BRC20s, Ethereum, everything you can imagine related to DeFi and decentralized finance. We've got it covered in the community. So I hope if you're listening that you're going to take that second and go visit us, t.me/mission DeFi, and join the community. Thank you for everyone that's joining. Thank you for everybody that's participating. If you're listening and watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us. It helps boost us in the algorithm. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you're subscribed. Click the little bell so you get alerted when new episodes come out, and make sure that you slam that thumbs up so that we get a boost in the algorithm. Joe, I hope you have a lovely afternoon.
You too, buddy.
And everybody else does as well. Yeah, good show today. Always fun. And, we'll cover those other 40 stories tomorrow. One final thing. Pay attention to Mana, Engine, and Sand. Those were in play today from the Apple VR headset announcement. So they might be moving this week. Talk about that. Sorry about that.
So okay. No, don't worry. We'll get it tomorrow. But just pay attention to those. They seem to be moving. But be safe.
Great. Right. Thanks.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Cheers.